everyone, and welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Sadie, and I'm joined by my co-host Tegan.
Hi.
And we are here. I need to tell you guys what a struggle it has been the past few weeks to record this podcast. My computer is just like refusing to use the software we use to record video for the podcast. And it literally takes Tegan and I it takes me. Tegan just sits patiently waiting for me, but it takes me like a solid half an hour every time we start recording for my computer to be like, oh, okay, we're doing this. But all this to say, we are here. Now I'm just in a silly, goofy mood, which is better than being angry, which I usually am at my computer. Yeah.
See, it's not a big deal to me because I went to school for film twice, worked in film, and all film is hurry up and wait. So this is how I live my life. I'm like, oh yeah, we gotta hold to record. Yeah, why not? Let's hang out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Tegan also works for an agency that works with clients all day. So there's been times where she'll say something to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're talking to me like I'm a client, but I need that because you're just so patient and calm, where I've always been the client. So I'm like a hot mess and stressing. Yeah. So that is why we make such great friends and business partners. The yin and yang, I suppose. Yeah. But anyways, we are here today to talk all about being a fangirl in 2024. And this episode is actually inspired by an article I read on Refinery 29 a few months ago. So I'll definitely reference that article as we go. But really, it's all about, do you have to be rich to be a fan? So we're going to talk through just how much social media has influenced concert going and what it means to be a fan, regardless of what type of music you listen to, even books you read. I just feel like fandom is huge in 2024. But knowing Tegan and I are one of those people who absolutely love going to concerts and we want to prioritize going to concerts, we're also going to share our tips and tricks for how to prioritize that, especially in your 20s when you need to, or you have limited money, I guess, so you need to really pick and choose where you spend it. And then we're also going to share our tips and tricks on how to get concert tickets, because that can feel like a part-time job, honestly. So yeah, we're just going to chat through all of that. But before we jump into it, we asked you guys over on our Instagram stories what the best concert is that you have ever been to, and we will share our answers as well.
Yeah, when I posted this, was instantly thinking we're going to get a bunch of people saying the Eras Tour. Yeah. And sure enough, we got multiple people saying the Eras Tour. There were people saying specific dates. Some people just saying the Eras Tour in general. And I feel like that has got to be the biggest tour of all time at this point from a monetary standpoint. So makes sense. You really can't avoid it at this point. So that was something I definitely expected. Unfortunately, Sadie and I are not going to say it's our favorite because we couldn't get tickets.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer.
Yeah, we're also Canadian, so she didn't even stop here on the Eras Tour yet. We actually need to wait until November of this year to see her.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have tickets. So I will
double whammy.
Be honest. Yeah, I will be honest. I'm not over it yet. I'm a Scorpio who holds grudges, but I do feel like we're going to talk a bit about the Eras Tour and things like that and try to keep what's the word I'm looking for? Not open mind, but just talk about it objectively, because as much as it's amazing and hopefully maybe we can still go, I feel like this has been the center of this article I was reading. People just really starting to analyze what it means to be a concert goer and fangirl in 2024. I feel like the Eras Tour just reinvented being a fangirl. So we're definitely going to talk more Eras Tour throughout this episode.
Yes, definitely. One submission that we got that I loved was One Direction with 5 Seconds of Summer opening. I remember that tour so well. My sister-in-law wanted to go, And her grandma, who raised her and my husband, was like, no, because they're not going to be relevant in 2 years and the tickets are too expensive, so you're not allowed to go. So all her friends went and she wasn't allowed to go, and she was devastated.
Oh
But
no.
I feel like this is just like such an era. I could
Yeah.
see, especially if that was like your first concert, how that would be
Oh
such a
yeah.
vibe.
Yeah. My biggest guilty pleasure in all of my life is boy bands.
Yeah.
I am such a sucker for a boy band. So it's like, even if they're only relevant for like a little while, you have to go because
Yeah.
when a boy band makes a splash like One Direction did, you have to see them. You know what I mean? Even if it's not
Mm-hmm.
Endgame forever, you have to go. But 5 Seconds of Summer would also be amazing. They're just, it's one of those where anytime a 5 Seconds of Summer song comes on my Spotify, it's like immediately stop what I'm doing, blast the song and like
Yeah.
dance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So good.
so good.
Another submission we got that's kind of a similar era is Miley Cyrus, specifically her Bangers tour, which
Yeah,
I again remember this being a big thing.
yeah. And I feel Miley, is she going on tour again? I feel she has to be
She must be. Yeah.
soon, right? She just won her first Grammy, which I also couldn't
Yeah.
believe she didn't have a Grammy.
Yeah. It's
I was
very
thinking,
strange that her, like, Flowers obviously is such a big song, but that's like her most successful song of all time, times a lot, which is just very surprising to me because it
yeah,
doesn't feel like to me her best song or her biggest song. But
no.
maybe that's just a sign I'm getting older.
Yeah, maybe. I also feel like it's just her other songs, like I feel like Wrecking Ball was way bigger
Mm-hmm.
and more
Right?
prominent and had like a whole like pop culture moment. But
Yeah.
again, it was like my first year of college where maybe that's
Yeah.
why I have such like fond memories of it and it felt bigger than it maybe actually was. But I feel like that time of Miley was like associated to Miley's like breakdown almost, where maybe
Yeah.
people just weren't giving her credit for it. And
Yeah. Or
now
it was less about the
Flowers,
music and more
yeah,
about everything else.
her and
But
the statement she's making. Yeah, where I feel like
yeah.
Flowers, it's like her redemption era and it's like go Miley,
Yeah.
like empowerment and
Yeah.
so I feel like yeah, I was surprised, but I was like, I don't know.
It also makes
For that
sense.
rationale, yeah, it kind of
Yeah.
made sense. Not that it's right, but I feel
Yeah.
like so.
I remember when all of like this was going on, and it was right when we started university or college, and she did like the twerking on the like
Oh, hell
MTV
yeah.
stage or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was like such a big deal that she twerked and she stuck out her tongue. And I was taking a course that was just like studies of pop culture. And my
Mm.
professor was like, there are two things that are on the front page of the newspaper this week. And one of them was some war event where like a bunch of people got killed by a bomb. And the other was Miley Cyrus twerking. And he was like, for North American culture, Miley matters. These people's lives don't. And everyone was like,
Oh,
oh, how dare you? But now I can't even remember what the mass casualty was.
right.
But I remember her twerking. So he was right, but
Yeah.
he shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Anyways, that could be a whole different episode. I was just reminded of it by this suggestion, but that's crazy.
That's insane. Yeah.
The impact of Miley.
Yeah. Okay, we definitely need to do a whole other episode on like the media because I'm also
Yeah.
like, that's fucked up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but people with
Priorities.
that information, yeah, like, wow,
Yeah.
that is deep.
Sorry, guys.
But
I didn't mean to take it there so
we told
fast.
you, we told you this is gonna be an unhinged episode, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so Miley, and we need to see if she's going back on tour because I feel
Yeah.
like she's due for a tour. And then we also got Miguel, which I've
I
never
don't know
seen
who that
Miguel.
is.
Oh, girl, you should look him up. He is
Okay.
a babe show. I've not
I'll
seen
Google
him
him.
live before, but I can imagine this being a great concert,
Ooh, yeah, he's cute. I've never
right?
even heard of
I
him
feel it's
because
different type of music than you listen to,
yeah, interesting. Yeah,
but
I
I'll
haven't
send
even
you
heard
some
of any
songs.
of these songs, but
Maybe if you listen, like heard one, you'd be like, oh, okay.
yeah.
But yeah, he's my favorite to look at. I don't listen to too much of his music, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fun.
Okay, I'll be looking up Miguel, like music videos,
Yeah.
concerts after this to feel the vibes, but I absolutely loved that too.
And Sadie, what would your favorite concert be?
Okay, I have many answers to
Mm.
this. Can I please bring up Hillary Duff again? Because
Okay, sure.
okay, I told you guys my like best Christmas gift ever or best gift ever was when I got tickets to her concert. And that concert was probably like one of my favorite concert ever just because I was so obsessed with her as a kid. So this was 20 or 2000 no, wait, 2006. For some reason I
Yeah.
couldn't wrap my head around before 2020, but 2006. So, yeah, I was just a girl. I was there with my friends. I was with my mom. And I do remember the actual concert wasn't great. It was her most wanted tour, too. I feel like I need to share what tour was. But
Right.
I remember the girls in front of us were very tall and standing up because we had
Uh,
floor seats. And I
um,
remember we were trying to like stand on our chairs so we could see over them, but then we were getting yelled at a lot. So I don't remember it
yeah,
being
yeah.
like a great concert, but it was just the fact I saw Hilary Duff when
Yeah.
I was so obsessed with her that that was the best. And our friend Leanne went to that concert as well. And she had like front row seats. I don't remember how she got these tickets. I don't remember the reason, but she ended
Yeah,
up
this is ringing
touching
a bell.
yeah, she like touched Hilary Duff's hand. And for
Damn.
like years afterwards, I just called her the Hilary Duff toucher because I was so jealous. And in retrospect, that doesn't sound great, but that's just what she was to me, where I was like, I'm so jealous you were that close and actually touched her hand. But, anyways, so that was the obvious answer
Wow.
for me. I then grew up to become, like I said, a huge fangirl. Tegan and I followed all of our favorite bands to any like Southwestern Ontario show across Canada or across like Southwestern Ontario,
Yeah.
which is in Canada since we're Canadian. And it was the best. We would like,
Mhm.
I don't know if we ever missed school. We must have missed
Yeah, oh
school.
yeah. We would
Okay.
my mom would call in and be like, "Taken's not coming," like high school,
Yeah.
when I feel like it's
Definitely
probably
missed school.
more acceptable.
Yeah. Probably also more important to like be in school, but whatever. Prepping
Yeah.
for like
I was
university.
the opposite. I was like, "You're right. We got great life skills
Yeah,
out on the
yeah, that's
streets."
true, yeah. But yeah, we would line up for our favorite bands, like, all day, so we would be front
Mhm.
row because these were, like, general admission, again, going back to boy bands, so my
Yeah.
favorite band was Boys Like Girls. I saw them open for Avril Lavigne, and I was obsessed with them. Still am, let's be honest. All Time Low, Mayday Parade, like, we would buy tickets, they were at, like, bars in these I
Mhm.
guess some of these concerts were in Toronto, but otherwise they were smaller cities around where we grew up, and, like, tickets would be, like, 20 to $50, like,
Yeah.
low stakes, but it was, like, a general admission show, so we would wait all day in line, we would get our merch, we would see them, like, unpacking from their buses, like, all the roadies rolling the equipment, we made, like,
Yeah.
friends in line, like, it was just such an experience where and, like, time of our life because we would
Mhm.
do this frequently, so I definitely think that tops my Hilary Duff, answer, but that's just the best, and actually, was it last year or 2 summers ago, we got to see All Time Low again, and
Yeah.
I was just transported back to when I was 16 years old, and it was the absolute best. So, I think that's my answer. My favorite band, like, music-wise out of those 3 is definitely Mayday Parade, but I
Mhm.
had such a crush on Boys Like Girls and All Time Low. And sorry, I'm just now, like, rambling, but my other favorite part about those bands versus seeing, like, a huge pop star at an arena show is their
Mhm.
interaction with the crowd. Like, All
Yeah.
Time Low's old and kinda gross now because they're so old, but their fans are still, like, 16 years old throwing bras at them and
Mhm.
stuff. But I'm, like, just they're so interactive and, like, funny, and I don't know, it's just, like, adds to the show versus seeing
Yeah.
Hilary Duff, like, I don't know if she was really talking between her songs very much or anything like that, so definitely made for great concerts, and it was way more intimate, so you could really, I don't know, enjoy it more, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
also
yeah,
feel like that was always the start of summer, at least for me. So it also is very like summer nostalgic for me.
Totally. I do remember we went to one winter
Yeah.
show and we got like frostbite because again, we were dedicated to the cause, like lining
Yeah.
up, yeah, for hours and hours. But yeah, it is very much like eternal summer in my head as well.
Yeah. Even listening to like that music now, I'm like, I can't listen to All Time Low in the winter. They are a
Yeah,
summer band. So,
that's funny. And
yeah.
then my final answer, this one's so random, but my first, I don't know, it must not have been my first concert, but one of my first concerts was with my family. My grandparents got us all tickets to go to the Bare Naked Ladies and talk about interacting with a crowd. Oh my
Yeah.
God, these guys still are the best at this. I saw them a few years ago on Canada Day, downtown Toronto. And I think everybody knows who Bare Naked Ladies are, but maybe I'm
Yeah.
just also Canadian. I don't know. Where I'm like,
Their
do
one week
they're big.
was a hit in the
Yeah.
States.
Okay.
Yeah.
100%. But they are so good at improv. So it's like not only are they interacting with the crowd, but they're like making up little songs and the whole band chimes in on these little songs in between their actual songs. And like it's just next level. They're so funny, so interactive. Like an example is like they would see somebody wearing, say, like a funny hat or like a funny shirt, and then all of a sudden they would have like a whole 3 minute song
Mm.
made completely of improv about this funny hat or this funny shirt. So I feel like that's kind of a it also is like nostalgic for me where if I were to see them now, I know all of their greatest hits and like
Yeah.
I've seen them before, so that would also help make it such a great show, but I also wanted to mention them.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I think similarly for me, my favorite show would have to be Green Day. And it's like the mix of like the nostalgia, where like you with Bare Naked Ladies, I know all their songs and
Yeah.
can sing along, but they also are really good at like the crowd work. Every show I've been at, they've had multiple times where they like bring little kids on stage and like teach them how to play guitar or teach them how to crowd surf. And it's just like very interactive. I just feel like they've been famous for so long and playing big stadiums that they know how to like work the big stadiums,
Mm.
which like I've seen a lot of bands. Like I saw Fall Out Boy, I've seen them in a club and I've seen them at a big stadium. And I personally don't think they can really make the transition into the big stadium world where like Green Day could. It felt
Right.
like they were performing. I mean, and I have only seen them when Billy Joel has been sober. And so I've heard that that improved the show a lot, but I love Green Day. I've seen them, I think, 3 times, and I would see them over and over and over again.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them at Osheaga this year.
Yeah. I'm very interested to hear what their like festival vibe is like.
Yeah, I will report back.
Yeah. Fun.
I love it. Amazing. Well, those were probably the most random answers
Yeah.
we could have given, but that's our truth, you guys. So, anyways, transitioning now into the main part of this episode. Like I said, we were inspired by an article from Refinery 29, and the article was called, did I already say this? I don't know, but the financial toll of being, or sorry, the financial toll of fan culture. Do you have to be rich to be a fan?
Mm.
And why I love this article so much, again, it came out after the Eras Tour phenomenon.
Mhm.
And there was another article I read at the same time, and I can't find it, but it broke down like 3 to 5 different fans how much they spent on their Eras Tour concert experience. And people were spending like upwards of $20,000 on one night, 3 hours with Taylor Swift. And
Mhm.
before the Swifties come for me, I'm like, I understand that you can be a huge fan, but it's just like $20,000 is a lot of freaking money, and
Yeah.
especially with the cost of living as high as it is right now, the economy like it is, job security not being great in a recession, like it's just like that's even more money than it typically would be. So I was seeing a whole bunch of these articles and I was so fascinated by it because as somebody who I feel like I am quite business minded. I'm definitely a marketing minded person. I'm like, there is a secret sauce here for essentially like celebrities like telling their fans that this experience is worth this much money, and fans
Yeah.
saying, I know it is, so I'm willing to spend it. But part of it still rubbed me the wrong way, where it was like, but this has become so normalized, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, you only spent like $2,000 on your Taylor Swift tickets. Well, I spent
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 and I traveled halfway across the world, and all of a sudden it's like you didn't spend enough because
Yeah.
you're not a big enough fan because you didn't spend enough or something like that. And it's just like so absolutely crazy and mind-boggling to me. So this episode's just for me to rant out my thoughts and feelings a little bit. But the article too, it was brought up so many great points. One of them being how the whole fangirl fandom culture has really exploded since TikTok. And
Mm-hmm.
that's got to be true, because I think back to when we went to Harry Styles 2, 3 years ago. I probably saw that whole concert on TikTok, since that was
Mm-hmm.
also, I think it was 2021. So it was like the rise of TikTok, Harry Styles on tour, one of the biggest concerts post pandemic. And it was my entire For You page. Then the Eras tour came around. Beyonce goes on tour. And that's it, right? Where everybody is taking photos, and then it's like their social proof that I'm Taylor Swift's biggest fan because
Yeah.
I'm front row. I have this
Yeah.
great view. And it just becomes also competitive in a way. So I don't know. Just wanted to like voice that as well, and just also understand how social media has really like inflated this and fed into it a little bit to like make it what it is now. And then obviously places like Ticketmaster, everybody getting their cut of that as
Yeah.
well. But then the last thought before I shut up and move on is, I do feel like, though, we as like people love being a fan and like part
Mm-hmm.
of this community of fandom, because it is that sense of like community, sense of belonging, sense that you're part of something bigger and you can meet like-minded people. So like I was saying, we met friends in lines for concerts. I still have some of them on like Facebook. One of them's like has a family now, and I see her updates of her kids and I'm like, wow, I met you when we were 15 years old in line for an all-time low concert. Like it's absolutely wild. But it's that sense of community that makes it feel worth it, and why people do this. So as much as I'm like shitting on spending so much money, I'm like, I also understand. So I don't know, maybe that's like a weird way to start this episode, but I just, like I said, had to vocalize my thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that this like fandom has always been there. This episode's already scratching the pop culture like degree side of my
Love
brain,
it.
but it's like the things that I'm seeing on TikTok around fandom, like we have tickets to see Noah Kahan. Is that how you say his name? Kahan? But anyways, we have
Obviously.
tickets to see him,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing like people talk about this new song's out, analyzing the lyrics. Here's a new picture of him. Here's the set list, and it's the same type of cult or content that I feel like we were consuming on Tumblr for
Oh
All
yeah.
Time Low back in the day. It's just that it used to be the counterculture then, where now to be that engaged in the fandom is the mainstream, which is very
Hmm.
weird. Like it used to be like if you were analyzing the music that deeply and you're looking for Easter eggs in Taylor Swift's album liners, like you were kind of weird. You were not the cool popular kid. You were a part of the counterculture. But now, because of the way that we've globalized and because trends are changing so quickly, it's like there's no more counterculture or mainstream. Every niche becomes not a niche.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very weird to me. And it's all obviously rooted in like consumerism and capitalism. As soon as it becomes mainstream, it's like, oh, I need to spend more money to be a bigger Taylor Swift fan. Done. I'll spend the money.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's always been there. It's just gone off the rails. And then it
Yeah.
doesn't help that obviously with the pandemic, live events were gone. So then they came back and it was like, we can charge whatever we want because people
Hmm.
are desperate for it. And so I am well aware that it is very, very expensive to attend concerts. It is significantly more expensive to attend concerts than when I was younger, especially compared to like when my mom was buying concert tickets in her
Yeah.
teenage years. So we're also, I think, going to talk about how to still be able to afford to go to concerts. Because as much as I'm saying it's, consumerism, it's capitalism, and it's evil, I still love my concerts. So I'm still going to just keep going.
Yeah, 100%. I think this article, before we move on, it ended on such an interesting point, and I'm going to quote it directly. But it says it's up to us as fans to stop equating fandom with owning stuff and instead
Mm-hmm.
value the experiences and connections made in and out of arenas and stadiums. So essentially, again, just because you spent X amount of dollars on a concert ticket doesn't make you a bigger fan than somebody
Yeah.
who spent less, or going to the concert doesn't make you more of a fan than people who didn't go to the concert because they can't afford the tickets or because she didn't come to your country.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, last dig at the Eras Tour, but you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just such interesting perspective to have where it's like, yes, this culture exists. And like you're saying, Tig, it always has existed, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that it's growing and spiraling out of control, but it's also how we perceive it and like feed into that energy. So just food for thought. I don't know. I found it interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like we are going to go into more of a breakdown of all of the expenses that go into like attending concerts in 2024 because it's a whole big event now where I
Yeah.
feel like it didn't really used to be. But I think we can start by talking about how we prioritize attending concerts and how we make sure that we have the money to do that and how we save because both of us attend multiple concerts a year and we both love it. We love the
Yeah.
live music, but it is expensive. And I think one big thing for me is to decide a budget, save towards that budget, and then not break it. So, like for the Eras tour, she has announced she's coming to Canada. We didn't get tickets. We 100% could just buy like secondhand, whatever
Resale
the word is.
tickets. Yeah,
Yeah,
resale.
resale tickets. It would cost us $1,500, but we could do it no problem. But that is above my decided Taylor Swift budget, and I just have to be okay with that because I also find that this industry really thrives on the fear of missing out.
Mhm.
And if you feed into that, it's like, yeah, it's the Eras tour today, but it's going to be something else next time. And so you sometimes just have to set the budgetary boundaries with yourself and be okay with it if it means that you're not going to be able to be at that show.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me on this was also setting my budget based off my personal finances and not
Yeah.
based off of other people's experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
when I heard Taylor Swift was coming to Canada and I saw resale tickets $2,000, I was like, that's a steal. Like, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds great. But then as we were talking about it, I was like, wait, $2,000 is literally 2 weeks worth of like a paycheck for me for
Yeah.
3 hours, at a
Yeah.
concert. It's literally a month's worth of rent. It's a month, almost 2 months, probably even 2 months worth of groceries. These
Yeah.
are ways to contextualize that $2,000, even though $2,000 might sound like a good price for the actual concert you're going to see. So I think that's actually one of the biggest things I wanted to mention on budget was don't let social media and other people's experiences, even I know this is going to be like a touchy subject, but even just don't like overlook other people's privileges essentially to
Mm-hmm.
affording these really high cost tickets if that's not realistic for you. And it's also okay
Yeah.
if it's not realistic for you. I feel like I took shame in that being like, no, I want to look like I want to go to this concert. I want people to know
Mm-hmm.
I was there and that's like priceless. But it's like as much as I think that it definitely isn't worth the financial stress. So something to keep in mind. And I think something when it comes to big purchases, regardless if it's concert tickets, if it's a travel trip somewhere, a new computer, like whatever that big expense is, it always makes sense to actively save for it if you know it's coming, especially. But
Yeah.
maybe if you're somebody who likes to go to concerts a lot, maybe you're just setting money aside into a savings account, kind of using it as like a rainy day savings account, but you know when a concert comes around, you can use that money to put towards it. So separate, obviously, than like an emergency savings fund, something like that, but
Yeah.
a separate account you're consistently contributing to for fun experiences. Concerts can definitely be one of those.
Yeah, 100%. Sort of related to what you were saying about like not comparing to other people and other people's budgets. I think another great way to be able to afford more concerts is to be okay with sitting in the cheap seats. Because now I find it's not only do you have to be at the concert, but you have to be at the concert and be front row, which I am not operating on that level. I am happy enough to be in the cheapest seats and just be there. I also think seeing smaller artists can be obviously a great way to be seeing the live music, being a part of the fandom without breaking the budget. And we have like really small artists that come through Toronto multiple times, and tickets are like 25 bucks, 30 bucks. So if you're especially in the States, you're even better than us. You're getting these
Yeah.
shows way more. So something to consider. I also think trying to take down your spending when you're at the concert can really help. So it's like I'd rather see 2 concerts than see one concert where I sat front row, bought a hoodie, and had 5 drinks. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather be budgeting when I'm there and be going to 2 different events. And I get that that's going to be different for every single person. Some people are like, I want to go all out for this one, and that's what I'm spending my money on. But I'm all about the quantity over quality. So that's something that I keep in mind also. I also think if you're trying to save money on concert tickets, you have to commit early and buy them the day they go on sale. If you are buying from resellers, you are paying above face value and you're losing money.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be committed to being a fan, you've got to be committed. If you're hemming and hawing, sometimes you can get deals, especially like the day of. But
Yeah,
if you're like not on the ball, not getting the pre sale, missing the day they go on sale, a lot of times you're paying more.
totally. Yeah, I was gonna say I will counter this with the whole last minute tickets
Yeah.
later in this episode, but I think that is totally a like fair point. The last thing in this category I wanted to mention is also looking into festivals. So I've never gone
Yeah.
to a music festival before. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to Osheaga for the first time this year, which is in Montreal. And I might come back after that and be like, just kidding, never go to a music festival ever. But why I'm saying this is because music festivals used to be so expensive in my head,
Mm-hmm.
like so expensive because they're a multi-day event. You know, it's
Yeah.
oftentimes travels required, accommodations, whatever. But it's like looking into Oceaga tickets. Again, I definitely have privilege where my sister lives in Montreal, so I don't need to worry
Mm.
about accommodations the whole time I'm there. That saves me a lot of money, but I do need to travel there. But looking at like tickets for the whole weekend, it's pretty much what we paid to see Harry Styles for one night, you know, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing so many more bands and bands that I'm actually really excited to see. I'm seeing frickin' Green Day for the first time. Like I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
Noah Khan again. So it's like, I don't know, it could be a interesting route to take, especially somebody like Noah Khan, Hosier, who are like headlining all the festivals this year. Could be a good time to either get that bucket list item checked off your list of going to a music festival, but also a more economical way of seeing all your favorite artists.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a festival gal. I've been to a couple, and festivals can also be a really great way to learn about those smaller artists. Like some of my
Yeah.
favorite small shows I saw because I saw the band first at a festival
Yes.
playing at like 2 p.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah. I actually have been to a music festival because I found one of my favorite bands the exact same way, but it
Yeah,
wasn't like a multi-day festival where that's why
right.
my brain was like, no, it's not a
Doesn't
festival.
count. Yeah.
But yeah, that's so funny. I totally forgot. That's how I discovered that band, which I'll tell you guys is called the Franklin Electric. People are like, okay, what is the band?
Yeah.
That's what they're called. They're
Gatekeep.
so cute. Yeah, they're cute, but they're like very sad and depressing. So if
Yeah.
that's your kind of
That's the
music, check
vibe.
them out. But yeah. Okay, so those were our tips for how to prioritize like going to concerts and just trying to make responsible decisions, knowing we want to do this, but it obviously is a big financial commitment. So now we want to share our tips on how to get tickets. I feel like, again, having privileges really comes in clutch here in the sense that Tegan and I have a connection at one of the bigger arenas in Toronto where they can often hook us up with tickets. And
Mhm.
especially if it's a show not many people are wanting to go to, which for some reason, that's how we got our Harry Styles tickets. Where I was like, why does nobody want to go? But
Yeah.
I guess just that demographic didn't want to go. But like those are face value. You don't need to be in queues competing with other people for it. Obviously, this is hard to control, like if you have a connection, use it is essentially what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But it could also be, ask your friends and family. Maybe there's corporate perks. Maybe you get perks through your Amex or like credit cards, something like that. Like just keep an eye out because unfortunately, this is the easiest and most cost effective way to get tickets if you do have a connection.
Yeah, 100%. Some of the biggest shows that I've been to, I got the tickets through someone because I've heard, and this could be fake, but I've heard something like 30% of Ticketmaster tickets are not put on public sale. And this was before COVID, so it might be an even bigger number now, but it's like they're held back for radio show giveaways. They're held back for like corporate tickets, for whatever it is, for guests of the band. And so it's like you're not only competing to buy tickets against other fans, but against like the corporate overlords. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. I think another great way to try and get tickets, like I have a lot of people who are like, how do you get tickets to all these concerts? And I'm like, I register for the pre-sale and I'm on the pre-sale 15 minutes before 10 and I hang
Mhm.
out in the queue and then I get my tickets. Like it seems complicated, but it's really not. So if there's a show that you really want to go to, register for the pre-sale as early as you can, as often as you can. Now there are things like the Spotify pre-sale, which I really love. There are fan clubs like Neil Young, his pre-sale, you had to be a part of his fan club, that sort of thing. There are ones like for Taylor Swift here in Canada. If you were a RBC banking member, you got your own pre-sale. I know Amex has pre-sales. So things like that. Anytime you get to purchase your tickets earlier than general is good. It helps your chances. The other thing I was going to say is sometimes if the pre-sale code is a word, you can guess it quite easily, especially when it comes to festivals where there's lots of bands. I find that festivals tend to keep their pre-sale codes super super simple, and then you can sometimes guess them like based on the poster design or that sort of thing. And so I've had that happen once before and I was like, yes, I'm tapped in. But I did just want to mention that because that's a sneaky way to sometimes get some really great seats.
Yeah, I feel like that's testing karma.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Are these legit?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I'm so enraged though with just how like your point around how many tickets don't go on sale for
I
public because
know.
it's like corporate or
Yeah, yeah.
I like the whole like radio show and things like that, but oh it annoys me so much. It's so shitty. But yes, I also agree with the pre-sales. Obviously there is like a bit of luck, I guess, needed for
Yeah.
that, but I think to better your chances, some people might not agree this betters your chances since it also inserts more people into the pool, but get your friends and family to sign up for pre-sale codes too. For
Yeah.
instance, Tegan was going, or she really wanted to go to Tyler Childers
Yeah.
and was like, will you enter the pre-sale for me? I was like, absolutely. I ended up getting a code. You guys got a
Yeah.
code anyway, but it was like, had they not gotten a code, we had the backup in place. That's how we went to Beyonce, was somehow like luck struck me that day and I got the pre-sale code. So it really sucks. Oh, sorry. The other thing I was going to say that enrages me, since I'm on a ranty rage in this episode, is how Ticketmaster also sells out shows through the pre-sales. So if you're not
Yeah.
entering for pre-sales because you're like, oh, that sounds way too stressful, my chances aren't that good, I'll just get them when they go on public sale. You guys, literally for Avril Lavigne, okay, not the biggest celebrity in 2024, but she's going on her greatest hits tour, which I guess did pique a lot of people's interest. The show completely sold out before it even went on sale. And obviously that was part of the drama around the Eras tour, and this is
Yeah.
a common problem. But since it's a common problem, like, do something about it and look out for yourself by registering for the pre-sale and doing everything you can to get in on the pre-sale.
Yes, definitely. And I think like if you've got your pre-sale code, you're in, you have to be ready. Like if the pre-sale's
Mhm.
at 10, you've got to be on your computer at 9:45. You got to make sure your internet's good. You've got to am always signed into my account. I've got my credit card in hand.
Me
So it's like
too.
if you get those tickets in your cart, they're usually held for like 10 minutes. If you spend that 10 minutes looking for your credit card, they're gone. You missed your chance.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And on the other hand, if you get into the pre sale and it's showing that there are no tickets available, wait it out, because all these people who have them in their credit card or have them in their cart, if their credit card bounces, then the tickets get put back in the queue.
Mhm.
So sometimes I've been able to get tickets like 2 hours after it was showing that a show is sold out. So sometimes you need to be persistent, but you need to be there. You need to be ready. It's not like, oh, I thought those tickets went on sale this morning. Let me check.
Right.
Like, no, you got to
No.
be committed.
Yeah, set your timer, align on your budget with your friend if you're buying
Yeah.
tickets for you and a friend, have your credit card in your hand. Yeah, log into your account ahead of time. For me, I'm like, I have my credit card number memorized, but it's in a moment of panic that I'm going to forget
Yeah.
it. And then it, all goes wrong from there. So I
Yeah.
take those precautions as well. And it's funny, I feel like I don't even breathe. That second
Mm-hmm.
it's like 100 people are in front of you, I'm like, okay, it's go
It's
time.
happening.
Yeah. I'm crazy since my internet sucks so much, as we were talking about kicking off this episode. I like disconnect all my other devices from my Wi-Fi. I'm like, nothing can mess this up for me. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is a hustle, but can definitely be worth it.
Yeah. And I think I wouldn't rely on this, but I did want to say, like, I have won tickets in the past through a contest through Facebook. So it's
Yeah.
like if you didn't get the tickets, you really want to, like, be on the lookout for contests because they
Mhm.
pop up all the time, like radio contests, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And even the day of tickets, like we mentioned, sometimes you
Yeah.
can get tickets for really cheap. We bought Ed Sheeran tickets. They weren't as cheap as I feel like they should have been for the time we were buying them, but they were
Yeah.
still cheaper than if we had bought like the week before. And yeah, that can be another good way to get sort of more affordable tickets.
Totally. We almost saw Noah Khan last August when he
Yeah.
came. Like literally all day we kept checking. We were like moments away from securing tickets, and then
Yeah.
they'd be snatched up by someone else. But that one, you obviously just need to be like, go with the flow. And as much as it's hard not to get your hopes up, it's like, it is emotionally taxing to be like watching this all day, but you can
Yeah.
really score. And let's just also have a moment of Ed Sheeran appreciation, because
Mhm.
Ed Sheeran is such a genuine guy where, what is it, Tag? He doesn't sell his tickets for above face value. Like, he has
Yes.
a
Yeah.
max amount for his tickets. So we saw him last summer, 2 summers ago. For some reason, all my
Yeah.
summers are getting mixed up.
Yeah.
And I feel we paid like $125 each. We were in the lower bowl, like really
Mhm.
great seats. And I was like, this is great. Like, again, that is
Yeah.
expensive, but for the
Could be
seats, it
worse.
was great. Yeah. And I was like, if there was surge pricing, these seats would easily be
Yeah.
like double, triple the price. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's just send some love to Ed Sheeran, because he's a
Yeah.
real one.
No, more and more bands are starting to do that, and I have a lot of respect for them. Like I know The
Me
Cure
too.
purposely made their tickets lower price to make up for Ticketmaster fees, and Tyler Childers, who I talked about, he the same as Ed Sheeran won't let you resell for anything other than
Okay.
face value. So you
Yeah.
can be buying resale tickets, but they're the same as face value. So
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. That's the thing that also irks me, sorry, another ragey rant, is how it is the artist and like the tour that
Yeah,
sets the price of
they
tickets, and
decide.
they're the ones that opt into surge pricing. So
Mm-hmm.
Ticketmaster is 1000% a shady, awful company, has a monopoly like on tickets, like 1000%. I'm not justifying them at all, but it is interesting, how these celebrities are making millions and billions of dollars off these tours, but it's everyday people like us who are the ones paying thousands of dollars to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just so mind-boggling when you really think about it. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
interesting, more food for
It's
thought.
so irritating. Like,
Yeah.
I think Bruce
Taking
Springsteen had surge pricing. Mr. Blue Collar himself,
yeah.
Springsteen, working in the factory, surge pricing. And he did that after he sold his catalog for, I think it was something like $500 million. Like,
That's
I'm
it's
sorry,
like
that
you
wasn't
don't
enough.
need yeah, you don't need this money, Bruce, but I do. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. So infuriating. But can you guys tell that Techno and I have been doing this podcast for as long as we have, and she's now like brainwashed me to understand, not even brainwashed, just like open
Capitalism.
my eyes to capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's liberating but enraging at the same
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't that just like you're like, I wish I could put my head in the sand and live a happy life, not being
Totally.
enraged by the
Yeah.
world I live in. Yeah.
100%. But anyways, hopefully that gave you guys some tips and tricks for how to secure the bag and get your tickets. It's all about the pre-sales, the
Yeah.
connections, which is maybe shitty news to hear, but we believe you guys can do it. If we found a way, we know you can find a way as well.
Yes. And I think the last thing we're going to talk about is just all of the expenses that come with attending a concert. Obviously, the tickets are expensive, and that's a part of it, but it's just become so much bigger than that. So we're going to break down some of those things. I think obviously, if, as we've been mentioning, if you're traveling for the show, the travel costs money and the accommodation costs money. If it's a big
Mhm.
show, then suddenly everything's really expensive. Like when Taylor Swift announced her Toronto dates, the hotel prices went up to $1,000 a night in Toronto
Yeah.
and those sorts of things. So very rarely will I travel for a show unless it's a festival. For
Yeah.
the most part, I'm like, I can justify the price of a ticket, but that's it. And obviously, it depends on a bunch of stuff like we've been talking about, but that is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, it's crazy for Osheaga weekend. So I fly to Montreal twice a year-ish to see my sister anyway, and I usually pay like $200 to fly round trip from Toronto to Montreal. For Osheaga weekend, it's like $500-600 for that same flight, just
Yeah.
because that's going on in the city that weekend. So definitely is pricey. Something that Refinery 29 article mentioned was that tours obviously stop at like big stadium tours stop at those big stadiums, which are typically in big cities. So
Yeah.
if you're coming from out of town, like maybe you're only coming from a few hours outside of Toronto, you just need to keep that in mind. Even like parking, even if you're in the city, but it's like maybe you have to Uber to or
Yeah.
from it, and it's like the surge pricing on Uber, like all of these little things add up. And I think like we were saying, everyone takes their cut from that tour, including like the travel and tourism kind of industry. So definitely something to be mindful of.
Yeah, another element of it is the food and drink when you're there. This is something that I will usually cut from my budget. If the tickets were really expensive, I'm fine with not having a drink at the show. I know that not everyone is, but that's just the vibe, especially here in Canada. You're lucky if a drink is priced at $20. It's
Mhm.
usually higher than that. And the same with food, it can be really, really expensive. On the other hand, if you are attending a festival, you have to buy it because you're there all day.
Yeah.
So be budgeting for that accordingly. I've been to festivals where you had to purchase water, but your girl's
Mhm.
got to drink water or else you will be ill. So it's like you just need to take that into consideration, whether it's like these tickets were expensive, so I'm going to eat dinner at home before I go to the show, Or if it's like, okay, we better be saving because this is a 3-day festival, so I'm going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner there and be paying out of pocket.
Yeah. 100%. I think that's a great point. I'm thinking back to our Madison Square Garden Sarah Jessica
Oh,
Parker
God.
Cosmos. If you know, you know. If you don't know, go listen to our New York recap episode because that's just so funny. But those Cosmos were like easily $20 to $25.
Yeah, US, which to
Yeah.
us, that's
Yeah, it would be
crazy.
like $30 to $35, but so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the other big thing can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be expensive, is also the outfit that you wear to the show. So this is another thing where I'm like, I feel social media has just like blown this up, but it's
Yeah.
like not only are you going to the tour or the concert, you also need to like dress to show you're the number one fan. You know, like you need a
Mm-hmm.
DIY costume, you need it to be on theme for the tour. And I'm not gonna lie, I am definitely guilty of this. When we saw Beyonce last year, Tegan and I had our sparkly cowboy hats. I bought a shirt that was way too expensive for what it is. It's like a mesh rhinestone shirt, and I'm pretty sure I paid like over $100 for it. I don't know if I'll ever wear it again. Like in the moment, I knew it was an irresponsible decision, but I was like, but I'm seeing Beyonce. Like, it's worth it. In
Yeah.
retrospect, though, it's like, but is it worth it? Like I could have just worn a regular black tank top from my closet and it would have had the same effect. So, all this to say, this is something you can definitely play into. But if you are planning on making an outfit, buying a special outfit for this concert, factor that into your budget.
Yes, 100%. I feel like you don't need to buy a new outfit for every show you go to, obviously. But I do think if you are attending an outdoor show or a festival, dress appropriately. The
Mhm.
amount of people that I see not wearing the right outfit, or it's like the opposite where they're dressing too stylish and then it's like messing up their whole day. Like, do not be that person. I think for those types of things, it's okay to splurge a little so that you're dressed safely and appropriately for that type of show. The other thing I wanted to mention is a lot of venues have very strict dress codes when it comes to bags. I know, especially in the US, it's kind of a thing here in Canada, but it varies. But when I went to see Beyonce in Buffalo, they would not even let me bring in a bag, period. So
Mhm.
that's something to keep in mind. Take a look. A lot of places will not let you have backpacks, that sort of thing. Sometimes the bag has to be clear. So that's another thing to look into and maybe save some money for if you're like, well, I need to bring a bag because I need, to bring my EpiPen or whatever it is. You might have to end up buying a clear purse.
Yeah. Good call. I think that's definitely something you don't want to surprise you last minute while you're going through
Yeah.
security, being like, "Oh, I can't take in my bag," and then have to throw
Yeah.
out all your stuff. But yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
actually just remembering Harry Styles was where I stayed strong on not getting a new outfit. I remember being like, I need
Oh,
something like feathery and
okay.
amazing,
Yeah.
but then I was also like, but you're going just to go? Like, I'm not the biggest Harry Styles
Yeah.
fan. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay if I just wear something I already own. I did,
Totally.
and I'm so happy with that decision.
Yeah. Honestly, like it's not that deep. I remember obviously
No.
when we were deep in our like fangirl era of
Yeah.
like planning the outfits to see and like we were meeting the bands. Did they
Yeah.
give a shit what we were wearing? Could they see what we were wearing? No, it was dark in there. They were
Yeah.
probably wasted. Like it's not that deep. It can be fun, but it doesn't
Totally.
need to. Like if you're
Yeah.
stressing about breaking the bank, don't do it. Wear what you have. It'll
Yeah.
be fine.
100%. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like all of a sudden becomes competition to be
Yeah.
the biggest fan based on your outfit. And that's
Yeah.
where we're saying, nope, it's up to
No.
us fans to
Shut
stop
it
that
down.
narrative. Yeah. So, yeah, we're giving you permission to wear your
Exactly.
normal clothes.
Yeah.
Speaking of clothes, I think the last point we wanted to talk about is merch. And I feel like
Mhm.
this is another thing that has just spiraled out of control. If it's limited time merch specific to that show or that city. I know when Beyonce was here, like her merch was sold out before the concert even started, I feel like. Or,
Yeah.
oh no, it was the pop up
Yeah,
before she,
yeah.
and the merch for the show was being sold there, but it was completely sold out. So they were like, if you want merch, go like the second the doors open, wait in like a really long line for your merch. So we did that, and we were there like 3 hours before the show actually started. Like, it was insane. And again, it was unnecessary in retrospect. But if you're somebody who values merch, like, take that into price consideration when you're setting your budget, because it is pricey, but also into your like time management planning as well for the day, because these merch lines can be really long, and sometimes you're left with weird sizes that don't even fit you, but you're like just buying it for like the memories, so I don't know, just another little pulse check on the merch.
Yeah, definitely. And merch can be one of the best ways to show your support for the band, especially smaller bands. But nowadays, Ticketmaster, here they come again, they take a percentage of merch sales, which then means that all the bands have to bump up the price of all the merch to offset that money lost. So,
oh, my blood is boiling.
I know. Ticketmaster, you guys. But so that's just something to keep in mind. Even over COVID, I've found that the price of merch has gone way up. I remember when I saw Rihanna in like 2009, she was selling a shirt for $60. And I was like, I cannot believe that. Now, if you see a shirt for $60 at sale at a concert, you're like, wow, what a steal.
Let me get two.
Yeah, the times have definitely changed, but that's something to keep in mind. But you don't have to buy the merch. It's all good. Just being there can be the memories enough. Totally. And times have changed. Like when we were going to shows, a lot of time you could only get merch if you went to the shows. Like that was the only way. They didn't have online stores, or if they did, they weren't shipping to Canada. Times have changed. I can buy a Taylor Swift Eras shirt and pretend I went. So if that's something important to you, definitely do your research beforehand. See if the merch that you want is cheaper online or whatever it might be. And if it's something like you can only get it at the show, then budget accordingly.
100%. Again, I have my Beyonce shirt. I think I wore it the day after the show, and that's it.
Yeah, I will very rarely buy shirts.
Yeah, I did buy the Harry Styles tote. This is the other thing, where you don't need to buy shirts. Buy like the cheaper items, like the tote bag, the stickers, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I use my Harry Styles tote all the time, and it's so funny because there'll be girls, especially if I'm in a mall, girls will be like, Harry Styles, and I'm like, yeah, like again, that sense of community. It's nice, but yeah, a little aggressive, but also nice. Most of the time, I'm like, wait, what? Then I see we have matching tote bags or something, but so funny.
Yeah. Well, I think that was everything we wanted to say. What did
you
we
better
hit on?
cut me off.
Capitalism. Oh, we hate Ticketmaster. Taylor Swift pissed us off, but we're still fans. All the good things. So, we should leave it there before we say something really bad and get canceled.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's everything for this week. We put out episodes on Tuesdays, so if you like to hear us rant about how capitalism is bad, make sure you're subscribed to us so that you see when those new episodes drop. In between that, you can follow us on social media. We're at Our Golden 20s on all the platforms, and we have all the links in the show notes of this episode. And I think this week we're going to share some throwback photos of us being the OG fangirls. So definitely stay tuned for that excitement. And we also have a Patreon page, which is the best way to show your support for the podcast. And we put out the episodes there early and ad-free. So definitely check that out. I think that's everything for this week. Thanks for listening.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.